You're listening to East of the Rockies, the Michigan Student Softball Podcast on WCBN Sports.
Well, Mr. Burns had done it. The power plant had won it, with Roger Clemens clucking all the while. Mike Scioscia's tragic illness made us smile, while Wade Boggs lay unconscious on the barroom tile. We're talking softball, from Maine to San Diego, talking softball. Mattingly and Canseco, Ken Griffey's grotesquely swollen jaw, Steve Sachs and his running with the law. We're talking Homer, Ozzie and the Straw.
And with that, hello and welcome everyone to Season 2, Episode 3 of East of the Rockies, WCBN Sports' official University of Michigan softball podcast. I don't really know what makes it official, but I feel like it's good branding to include that at the beginning. Anyway, I'm Morris Fabry. I'm hosting today. On the other side of the glass, I have with me Alex Drain, and on the phone with us, Kevin Klein. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. A little bit early, but still good.
Early. Kev's on here at 9 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah, Friday's my sleep-in day. It's the only day I don't have it decently early.
Hey, listen, man, Drain, you gotta always grind, okay? So your sleep-in day could be pushed back a little bit for Michigan softball.
Yeah, wise words from a veteran of the podcasting game.
Washed-up veteran.
A veteran nonetheless, still hold the title. So how'd you guys take in the weekend's action, if you did at all?
Well, I was not able to see any of the games because the only one that was sort of televised was the Florida State first game that was streamed, and I was out and about when that was going on, so I was just tracking it on stat broadcast, so looking at all the plays that happened in the box score and everything, but not able to catch any of it.
Kev?
Yeah, you know what? The 4 games, I got to watch the Florida State one. That was pretty exciting, and after that Saturday, that doubleheader or whatever for the Wolverines, I was so excited because the pitching was coming around. Notre Dame, in that game, Michigan scratched across 6 runs, and then all of a sudden, that divide going into Sunday, you saw kind of the 2 paths this team can take, and it's pretty, the main factor, I think, is the offense, because, the pitching was good all throughout the tournament. The offense just sputtered, and you saw when the offense can't, capitalize on opportunities, what happens, and we saw that in the Notre Dame game, and then that Florida State game, that second one was just pretty bad to watch if you're a Michigan fan, only 2 hits throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, it seems to have been sort of more of the same for this offense. 5 hits over their last 2 games on Sunday after starting off the weekend 2-0. And the 3 runs all came on 1 hit, a home run by Katie Alexander. Certainly injuries to Lou Allen and also presumably Abby Skvars. I didn't ask anyone about this when I did interviews on Wednesday, but given that she was replaced after 1 at-bat and kind of on a hot hitting streak, I think it's safe to assume that she's picked up a knock of some sort. It's all combined to make things look kind of bleak exiting Sunday for this softball team.
Well, I think the thing is, you look at last year, and there were a lot of offensive weapons that maybe weren't hitting for a lot of power, or maybe, weren't getting balls into the gaps, but they were getting on base somehow, some way. They were drawing walks. They were getting those singles. And when you get runners on base, there are more opportunities to drive them in. And then you flash forward to this year, and the team as a whole is only hitting 243, and I can't remember a time in the past 3 or 4 years where that average has been so low. You look at 5 of the players who have played a healthy amount of the games so far, and they're all hitting under 200, and that has to change, especially going into Big Ten play, and maybe these lesser tournaments. It's a great time to figure it out.
Are we all looking at the 2018 Michigan softball stats PDF right now?
Yes.
Is that just okay? Yeah. Just making sure, because that's how I'm reading all these stats. Yeah, it's not pretty. Michigan's not getting a lot of runners on base, and when the runners are on base, they're not scoring them. Certainly they've played some tough competition, but going into the weekend, we sort of pegged any matchup with Florida State where Megan King was not in the circle as an opportunity to get the offense going against the top team, and Kylie Hansen shut out the Wolverines over 6 2/3. So these issues do continue to dog the Wolverines. I know Coach Carol Hutchins has been willing to deploy pretty much anyone and hasn't been able to find any answers yet. So where, if from anywhere, do you guys expect some answers to come from?
Not exactly sure at the current moment. There hasn't been a whole lot of really impressive performances from anyone out of the ordinary at times. I mean, Katie Alexander had the big hit of the weekend, but you just kind of look at these numbers and you're just really not sure. I mean, what we've seen with this team is they are able to hit not very good teams, but against these top teams, they're really struggling to even get people on at times.
Yeah, I will not.
I think one of the things is, and we always look at it, is I know I listened to that Florida game where Duran and JP were on the call, and at the beginning of the game it was like, oh, the Wolverines hitters are really, working the count. They're getting the pitch count up. They're trying to get into good hitting counts. And then it seemed as the pressure built a little bit towards the end of the game, it was more swinging at the first pitch. The first good pitch in the zone you see, swing at it, and it resulted in a lot of ground balls. I don't know if patience is the answer, but I know that if you are patient at the plate, try to see some more pitches. If anything, a 9-pitch strikeout or a 9-pitch out somehow is still beneficial to the team because the on-deck hitter and the other players in the dugout can see, oh, how is this pitcher attacking us? How is the pitcher attacking righties versus lefties? What is she throwing? So I don't know if patience is the answer, like I said, but maybe it's a good place to start to try to get some of these batting averages up. Because if you look at the lineup up and down, I have a lot of confidence in, maybe not a lot of confidence, but I have confidence in 3 players to get clutch hits, and that's Canfield, Bronco, and Falk. Obviously, Alexander, we touched on it, had that big home run, and that's not taking anything away from her. But outside of those 3 players, where's the offense coming from? That the rest of the lineup seems to kind of be a black hole in terms of your batting average.
Yeah, well, it's difficult to have much insight into the offensive struggles given how little of the team we saw this weekend. I did talk on Wednesday to someone who did see plenty of the team, and interspersed in this interview also, the Michigan Daily's Arya Gerson was questioning Hutch, so you'll get to hear both of us ask her about how the offense went this weekend. So here's our talk with Carol Hutchins.
All right.
You can go first.
Okay. This weekend, your pitchers had to deal with a little bit of a lack of run support. So how do they deal with pitching when they're not getting a lot of runs from the offense?
We have to do our part, and the pitcher's job is to hold their offense, and they don't have any control over whether we have offense going, and they can't let it get to them. And they can start pitching not to give up a run because they're concerned. They can start focusing on things they don't control, and that will not go well. And a good pitcher just has to do the best she can, knowing that she doesn't totally control the outcome.
And what do you think each pitcher has brought to the table so far, and what kind of adjustments have they made?
Well, I think Megan kind of speaks for herself. She's obviously come out of the gate strong and commanded the opponents. I was most pleased last weekend with Schaefer's improvement from week 1 to week 2. I thought it was very encouraging, and I expect she'll be getting more innings. I need her to see her stay on that trajectory and just keep improving. And as her pitching coach Jen says, just keep doing what she's doing in the bullpen, and keep doing what she's doing in the bullpen. Kids sometimes throw in their bullpens and they on the team, then they get on the field and try not to let the hitter hit it, that's not a focus. Just throw your pitch like you throw it in the bullpen. That's what they practice in the bullpen. And with Tara, Tara's one of our confident leaders, and I need her to give us confidence when she's on the mound, and just be that Tara, just to be that Tara Blanco, because that Tara Blanco is, she's a fantastic competitor and a fantastic leader, and we want to see infuse her a little bit more on the mound with that.
Did you go into the weekend knowing that you'd start Sarah Schaefer against Florida State?
Not at all. No, I only played one game at a time and started Beaubien against Notre Dame. We discussed what we would do, and because of the day that we had Notre Dame, then we had Florida State. And I said, I'm only going to worry about Notre Dame. I didn't know I was going to start Beaubien against Notre Dame and then against Florida State. We hadn't really. If I did what I thought I was going to do, I was probably going to start Tara and then start Beaubien. And I really felt we needed to start Beaubien, and we were able to get her out of the game, and then in the Florida State game, she was very efficient. She only threw 70-some pitches. So, and then really she didn't start Sunday at all. We started Tara, then we got Sarah in, and I liked what I saw, and I really felt it was important for her to get that start and show us what she could do. And I was very encouraged with what I saw. Marley, stop doing that.
You don't need to stop, Marley. Kind of as an aside, the social media accounts of your players are all locked. Is that a directive from the top down, or is it just a bunch of players who know what's good for them?
Well, I think it's probably a good idea to privatize them. They're pretty accessible to anybody, and I don't think that's a good idea. So yeah, we encourage them to privatize their accounts.
Okay. Good to know.
Do you think that confidence might have played a role in the second Notre Dame game, just after coming off the loss to Florida State just a few hours earlier?
Well, we played Notre Dame first, and then we lost to Florida State. Oh. And we'd beaten Florida State the night before, so you might wonder if we had a Florida State hangover. Like, they were really excited that they won. And I tell them, you don't ever want to get too high, because you get high, you're going to crash. You get too low, it's hard to get up. So I felt it was a little bit of that, and our offense is very inconsistent right now, and we're working hard every day to get to that point of consistency. I think we can swing, and I think we can swing well. But in our game settings, we've been tentative. We haven't been confident, and they have to just keep working hard and get their confidence going.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Great. All right. Thanks.
All right. So that was Coach Carol Hutchins having probably more insight than we can offer on the offense. But, I think, Kev, one thing you pointed out before the episode that I think rings true is that I think Michigan's offense is feeling the impact of some departures from the team. You look at someone like Abby Ramirez, who was never really leading the team in batting average, not a superstar on that, and Lindsey Montemorano never, hitting 400, but both offensive stalwarts who could consistently get on base, could move runners over, and now their influence is just gone from the lineup. And then, of course, Kelly Christner, the biggest departure from the team, no longer hitting 600 to start the season.
I think it's interesting, too, because I think the lineup this year is feeling those departures, not just not just looking at it and saying, oh, Christner's not there, or Ramirez, Montemorano, they aren't there either. But I think what those three players were able to do is, first, they lengthened the lineup, and then they made everyone around them better. I mean, look at the stats from last year. Peters was a 360 hitter. Falk was in the 350 range. Blanco was up near 300, which she is this year again. Canfield was hitting 400. So what it did is you didn't have to, as an opposing pitcher, just pitch around three players. You could really not find a low spot in the lineup last year, and compared to this year, there's obviously going to have to be some players who step it up.
Well, and the other thing is not just batting average, but also you look at like slugging percentage, for instance. Even some of these players who've been able to get on base a decent bit, like Amanda Vargas, who is a hit-by-pitch machine, their problems are that they're only drawing walks or getting beaned or maybe a single here and there. I mean, there's just not a whole lot of doubles, triples, homers being hit, and so a lot of these slugging percentages are super low, even on someone like Natalia Rodriguez, who's a 286 hitter right now, but a 286 slugging percentage. And, Vargas at 400 OBP, but 357 slugging, so not just not being able to really get on base at times, but not able to get those big hits to get into scoring position earlier or to drive in a lot of runs.
I don't think the overall team or individual slugging percentage for certain players is that big of an issue, especially if they're a slap hitter. Isn't Rodriguez a slap hitter?
Yes.
So her slugging percentage isn't a stat that pops out to me. But what does pop out to me, Drain, and I think you make a good point, is the slugging percentage of the players that you expect to drive in those runs. Rodriguez and Gonzalez, when she's in there, and Peters, 3 slap hitters, their job is just get on base. The job of everybody else who isn't a slap hitter is drive the ball into the gaps and drive those runs in. So that's where I think slugging percentage becomes a real key, and that's where I think Drain really hit the nail on the head there.
To be fair, Peters, Rodriguez, and Gonzalez's combined OBP is not sterling so far this year. I mean, it's really been a systemic failure on all parts as far as the offense goes. But the team is still 5-4. They still did win 2 games this weekend. And I did talk to the one player to produce anything on Sunday, Katie Alexander. As we transition to pitching, no better way to do it than an interview with the woman who handles the pitchers. Here's my interview with Katie Alexander.
I'll be right back. I need it till tomorrow. No.
Yeah, I need to look at some stats, watch some film. So, Katie, getting right into it, what are some adjustments you've made between last season and this season?
Basically, I think just being a junior and understanding how the program works. Like at Michigan, there's such a strong culture, and like we just have so many practices, and just like me taking pride in that all year, and kind of just being a leader. Like I'm not a captain, but a catcher on the field. Like you have to be in charge, and knowing that I've played in tough games already, and like just catching for Megan Betza, like that really prepared me, and she led me and helped me become a leader, and I just feel like I'm in a good spot, I guess, right now.
Yeah. Does it come naturally to you?
Yeah, like definitely defense is my strong point. Like I'm pretty confident all around on the field, but I do like to play defense because I just feel like I'm in control. Like I just don't even have to think when I play.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you did have one shining moment at the plate over the weekend, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
None of us got to see it, so take us through the home run against Notre Dame.
Basically, there was 2 outs. I know we were down. I didn't start the game. I was in the dugout, and just seeing that we were behind and our team struggled through that first inning, and just being like, what can I do? So I didn't have anything on my mind. It's like to score a run, you have to have bases. Like you can't just hit home runs all the time. And I just wanted, to air it out. Like I had been hitting a lot of ground balls, and just like my teammates fired me up. I think Natalia got on from a bunt, Amanda walked, and I was just up to the plate. I think I had 2 strikes on me. Like I wasn't feeling pressured at all. Like I was relaxed, knowing that whatever I was gonna do, like my team was there with me.
Let me tell you, it was exhilarating to see the tweet pop up on my timeline.
Yeah.
So you weren't looking to hit a home run?
No, I was just trying to swing hard. Like I'm one of the strongest people on the team, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that just saying it. So I know whenever I make good contact, like it's gonna go far. So I wasn't trying. I was just trying to hit the ball hard and make something happen.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So you dealt with 3 different pitchers over the weekend. You're going to be dealing with them throughout the season. What kinds of adjustments, if any, do you have to make between those 3?
I just think like personality-wise, catching each one of them, obviously they throw different things, but I've been catching Tara for a while, and we're pretty good friends, and just understanding how she works. And then we have the 2 freshmen, so being older than them, like I have to lead them. But Megan is more like she kind of shows emotion, like she'll jump up and down, and like I need to get her excited and be ready, like to throw that good pitch so we can be excited. And then you don't see so much emotion from Sarah, so kind of I have to feed more off into her. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much what I focus on when I catch them, giving them energy.
Yeah, I guess it'd kind of come with the whole leadership thing.
Yeah.
2 more. What's your favorite dining hall on campus?
So I live in South Quad, so you would think I would say South Quad, but actually Mojo, because I'm in Canese, and I would eat lunch there my freshman year, so I love that one.
Well, that's a good lead into the next question, because the next question is, what's your favorite cookie?
Chocolate chip, of course.
Yeah?
Yeah. I could eat cookie dough like that all the time. Just plain.
For sure. How do you feel about oatmeal raisin?
I'm not a fan, but I will eat it if I have to. I'm not picky.
All right. Starving in a desert, you'd settle for oatmeal
Yes.
raisin.
Yeah.
All right. That's fair. That's all I got for you. Thanks.
I like those questions. I remember last year it was like,
Hot dog sandwich.
yes.
That was it.
I've done it. I do it all the time. I don't know. Just eat it on regular bread.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad to hear we've had an impact, or glad to hear your philosophy is aligned with ours.
Yeah.
All right, so there that was. A quick sort of explanation on the whole cookie thing. A couple of weeks ago in the WCBN fun group me, we had an animated discussion about types of cookies. Kev, you were a staunchly pro oatmeal raisin guy, which did not surprise me.
Why didn't that surprise you?
You just strike me as the type of guy to like oatmeal raisin. You had very hot takes about chocolate chip cookies, which
Okay. The thing is, chocolate chip cookies are so overrated, it's ridiculous. And I'll tell you why. First off, an oatmeal raisin cookie has excellent texture. So texture, I will give to oatmeal raisin any day of the week. Taste, again, oatmeal raisin, because you have the oats of the oatmeal and then the sweet, kind of raisins
are
in there.
lame, man. If I were like
Oatmeal
60
raisin,
years
dude.
old, I might appreciate a good raisin here and there, but
Whatever. I'm just trying to eat healthier, okay? Oatmeal raisin for days.
yeah, I might not be as washed up as you, Kev, because I can still take the chocolate.
See, I'm just stuck in my ways. I'm not as progressive as you guys.
That is eminently true. So, speaking of nutrition, I was actually talking to Leah during the team's practice on Wednesday prior to interviews, and she mentioned that the players during that practice were being rewarded with Starbursts or something like that for being well hydrated, and it goes along with a sort of general emphasis on health and nutrition that's been going around the athletic department. This is all from Leah, the SID. And so if you saw the softball team tweet something about Starburst, that's what it relates to. But it got me reflecting on my own nutritional habits, and now I wish I had sort of a guiding hand when I was in college. Kev, I'm sure you experienced more of the same, so we're going to do a segment on some nutritional habits we wished we could have changed back when we were in college. Now, Alex, you don't look like you've put on the freshman 15 yet, but being a human being with human flaws, I'm sure you've got some things you regret that you've eaten over the course of your time here.
Sure, yeah.
All right, so I guess I'll start. I wish that I had someone telling me, whispering in my ear, to not order so much Domino's. At the place that I used to live in Carytown, we had a stack to the ceiling from the kitchen counter. 2 stacks to the ceiling from the kitchen counter of medium Domino's pizza boxes. It was impressive and disgusting, and I could have used some guidance in my life at that point.
That's a very valid answer. I'm going to go with Mojo cookies.
Oof.
Those warm oatmeal raisin cookies, of course, not the chocolate chip cookie one.
Get out of here.
But, yeah, whatever. But Mojo cookies, those were a weakness of mine, and they were always so warm and just gooey, and I could go for a couple right now. But those were definitely not a good thing if you're trying to keep off that freshman 15 or freshman 25 for some of us. Not naming names.
Alex, you got anything so far? Any bad habits? Are you that clean living?
I don't know. I don't think I have a whole lot right now.
Oh man, he's
Here,
young.
I
He
got
can
another
learn.
one for you. I would try to lay off the backroom pizza after a night at Rick's.
Yeah, Alex.
Because that's just a bad combination, because not only is it 2 a.m, you're eating some greasy pizza that's not even that good, plus you were at Rick's, which means you might have had a few drinks, and it was just the whole night was not a very nutritional, not very conscious in terms of your nutrition.
Yeah, the pizza when possibly inebriated was never the best move, but it always hit the spot at the time.
Amen.
Yeah, that greasiness doesn't really sit well. Alex is 19, right?
Yep.
Yeah, far too young to be developing habits like that. So, yeah, I also would have eaten far fewer dining hall cookies if I had had someone whispering in my ear at the time. Not just Mojo, really everywhere I went, I'd get like 5 cookies every meal because, you know, back in my day, we only had a limited amount of meal swipes, so you had to make the most of every trip to the dining hall.
Well, you didn't get unlimited for living in housing?
No.
Oh.
No. You had to choose.
Rain is like, this is totally new information to me.
Yeah. Yeah, things were different. I mean, I had a certain amount of like Blue Bucks and dining dollars, which another thing I would have done is probably eat less Wendy's and Panda Express. Really, I was set up to have these bad habits. I had no say in the matter. I was just cast adrift by neglectful university dining policies. And so I can blame that for any residual gut I have from my college years.
Once again, amen.
Yeah, it's not... Well, thankfully, the university has seen the error of their ways and changed their policies such that young Alex Drain will not be exposed to the likes of things of that nature. All right, so moving on from nutrition, we're going to talk about the more fun aspect of the team that's made them 5-4. We'll start with an interview with Megan Bobian, which I'll throw on here now because why not? So good.
I didn't even in here. This is nice. There we go. There we go.
Yeah, it's better.
I need that. All right. Thanks, Leah.
All right, so after 2 weeks of basically lighting the state of Florida on fire, have you given any thought to transferring there because you pitched so well down there?
No.
No?
Definitely not.
All right. You sure?
Yeah.
All right. After those first 2 weekends, where do you think the room for improvement, if any, lies with how you've been playing?
I definitely think I have a lot of room for improvement right now. I feel like I just need to loosen up and do a better job of attacking batters instead of like thinking too much or being careful with my pitches. So I feel like once I just kind of let go a little bit more, that's going to help me out a lot.
All right. When you get into a zone, do you ever shake off any of the pitches called for you?
I have before. I don't do it often.
Yeah. Did you do it more in high school than you do now?
In high school, I got to call my own stuff, so.
Ooh, that must have been nice.
Mm-hmm.
You miss it?
No. I think Biggie does a really good job of calling, so I trust what she's doing. And I agree most of the time, so.
That's fair. So, what's the biggest adjustment you've had to make going between high school and college, both in terms of softball and just life?
I think in terms of softball, like, there's just a difference that every single game here is super high intensity. Every single game matters. Like in travel ball, like when you were in high school and everything, there were a lot of just like pool play or scrimmage games that didn't necessarily count. And here it's like every single pitch matters, and it's just a whole nother level of intensity. But it's an adjustment, but it's a lot of fun.
Who's the toughest Wolverine to pitch against in practice? Because I'm sure you faced more Wolverines than you have oppositions.
Right. I mean, everyone's got like their own strengths for sure. Probably, my personal opinion, I think Tara's tough to pitch to.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, Saturday night, big night for you. Afterward, I don't know if you know, but the nation took notice. Tweets from like Amanda Scarborough, Jordan Taylor, tweets from around the nation. Was any of that on your radar?
Yeah, I saw that. I'm on Twitter. It's that's super cool. I think it's just not something I want to get too caught up in or anything, but it's definitely really cool to see that from those types of players.
For sure. 2 more questions. What's your favorite dining hall?
The only one I ever go to is South, so.
That's fair. Kind of has it all.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite type of cookie?
Chocolate chip.
Yeah. What do you think of oatmeal raisin?
I like oatmeal raisin. Oatmeal raisin is definitely a solid cookie. I'm just like a huge chocolate person, so it has to win.
All right. It's not very controversial, but it's out there now. All right, that's all I got for you.
Well, thank you.
All right, so that was Megan Beaubien. One thing that kind of struck me about the interview is that when watching sports, I have the tendency, I don't know about you guys, but I have the tendency to get a bit starstruck, to view the athletes on the field as, as not human, but just as products of what they put out there. And Beaubien was like, shy, sort of funny. She was basically an 18-year-old girl, 18, 19, I don't know. And for some reason, that surprised me in the moment.
Well, I mean, it's when you are so dominant in your craft this early in your career, especially in a college sport, you forget, a year ago, these athletes were in high school. I mean, you could say the same thing for any freshman athlete who has really found herself or himself on the field or on the court, whatever it may be, and then you step back and you realize, wow, this person could be in my class on Mondays and Wednesdays, or this person a year ago was just in high school, and in the case of Drain, he's a freshman as well. A year ago, you guys were all in high school, and now look at what that athlete's doing, or look at what Drain's doing. So, it's interesting. It's fun to kind of take a step back and realize that these are just regular college students, too.
One of the things that kind of struck me is that, like, my entire life of watching sports, the athletes have always been significantly older than me. And then, now to be able to have players who are, the same age as me, it's like, whoa. And then you see, these next recruiting classes. I know Michigan hockey just picked up a recruit who was born in 2004. So,
yeah.
A totally different change of pace. Yep.
Yeah, I was in double digits.
Years old.
Yep.
Yeah. Life comes at you fast.
Man, we're old.
Yeah, for sure. So I also kind of wrote a Star is Born sort of bit about Megan Beaubien that I kind of hope that she didn't read, because it's kind of embarrassing to talk about a real human being in the terms that I use. But that's neither here nor there. You can check that out on WCBNsports.org. Wouldn't be a podcast without promoting the brand. But anyway, she's really, really good at softball. She's appeared in every single Michigan game so far. She's got a .83. She's got Florida-level numbers. She shut down Florida State in Tallahassee. How do we expect her to keep this up? I don't know what there is to say about Megan Beaubien other than to just drop your jaw in awe.
Well, I think they have to be... we've seen her now be able to do what she's done against the top-level competition, both Florida and Florida State. So I think there's no question that she is this good and that she can keep it up. However, I do have some kind of concerns about the Sunday games and perhaps workload, or... I know she was really efficient in Saturday's games, but she was a little bit off with the command in some of Sunday's game, had a couple hit by pitches to force the winning run across against Notre Dame. So just have to be careful about how much she is throwing, but it's hard to resist putting someone out there when she is as dominant as she is.
And that's where I think, because before Drain made his point, I was going to say the only reason that I could see Beaubien falling off is if she loses her left arm, because that's just how good she's been. And that's why I think the emergence of Sarah Schaefer has been important, because that's a third arm that you feel confident in the circle. Blanco's been a little up and down. Schaefer's been really good. I know she's only pitched 10 and a third innings. Beaubien obviously has been what Beaubien has been. We've talked about that. But I think Schaefer can take some of the workload off of Beaubien, and in a sense Blanco too, because especially against the lesser teams. When you get into Big Ten play, we know the team's not playing Minnesota. We know the team's not playing top-tier competition until maybe Ohio State at the end of the year. So you feel comfortable putting in Schaefer in Game 2 or 3 of a series, Blanco in Game 2 or 3 of a series as well. And then if Hutch feels the need to throw Beaubien in for 2 innings to clean up a mess, you don't feel as bad because you know she's not going to throw a full 14 innings in a 3-game series.
Yeah, I was shocked to see Schaefer get the start against Florida State on day 2. Tara had not had a particularly weak weekend pitching-wise. She didn't do great. Well, she did get the start against Notre Dame. Maybe I have to take that back. It's a little hard for me to get facts straight when I'm not following along with the kind of discipline that it would take to follow a broadcast on the radio or on TV. But anyway, yeah, surprised Schaefer got the start, and she acquitted herself well, only gave up 1 run on a sac fly over 5 innings.
She gave up some contact and had some walks, which will bloat the old whip a little bit, but it does speak to her ability to snake her way through that Florida State lineup, and even though she was giving up hits and some walks and things, that she was able to strand a ton of Florida State runners. And there is something to be said outside of just general statistics about the art of pitching and just knowing how to work your way out of jams and being cool, calm, and collected, and all of that seemed to be true with her.
Yeah, that's fair.
I almost feel like when Schaefer came in for the first time, it reminded me of that game against Wisconsin last year where, do you remember the offense was kind of sputtering, and that one, it was right after the 1-0 loss to Wisconsin in extra innings. I think it went 11 innings. And the next day, Hutch's lineup is just off the rails. I mean, Leah Crockett's starting. Uden, who wasn't playing a lot last year, she started. Swearingen was batting cleanup to start the game, and it just kind of rejuvenated the team, and they ended up run-ruling Wisconsin the next 2 days, but it just kind of reminded me of that. And then it's so vastly different because Schaefer is performing quite well. So I think Hutch might be onto something here because 2 freshmen in the circle this year have been really, really good.
Yeah, when evaluating coaches, it's hard to know how much is like cold calculating stuff with insider knowledge and how much of it is like throwing slop at the wall and hoping it sticks. But I think this still is a pretty talented team. I'm not too pessimistic about the offense long term. I think that at the beginning of the season there is probably a lot more parity among softball teams. We saw Florida got upset, right, by Lafayette.
Yep, who Michigan will see.
That's an upset, but Lafayette's a top 15 team.
Yeah, whatever. I didn't know Lafayette was a top 15 team.
Yeah, well, obviously you got to do a little more research, Mo. Come on, man.
That's Alex's job.
Stick with us here.
Michigan will see Lafayette, though, out in California. They'll play Baylor and Lafayette. So there's a few more chances to play some really good teams. I mean, I think when it comes down to the pitching, the fact is we have seen the pitching that it is good enough for this team to compete with any other softball teams out there. So it just kind of comes down to, can the hitting come around at some point to be able to elevate them? I mean, it's kind of like the Michigan football team from last fall, with the defense good enough to keep them in games, but the offense unable to put them over the top. Same thing here. The pitching is going to be good enough to keep them in games against top teams. The question is, will we see some fresh faces and new hitters emerge? Yeah, that was... I like that you brought in Michigan football because it was crushing to see Kev, who started off the season so optimistic about the team and was so high on Jim Harbaugh and the offense going into every game. It was tough to see him get sort of brought back down to earth during that football season, and you just hope it doesn't happen with the softball team.
You're sarcastic, right? I never had confidence in that. You know that. Come on now.
You got a lot more confidence in Carol Hutchins than you do in Jim Harbaugh.
And that is the truth.
Yeah, not putting words in your mouth. So, the team is currently in Austin, Texas, currently getting rain delayed in Austin, Texas. Our own Lucas Vargas is there covering all the games. So if you don't get the Longhorn Network, you can still listen in on YouTube and at WCBNsports.org to Lucas Vargas's call of Michigan softball. They're playing a couple games against Virginia Tech and a couple games against Texas, one against Wichita State. Do we have anything that we expect particularly out of the team this weekend? Any tidbits on the opposition? Any sort of scouting?
Texas is not back. In case anyone was wondering, they're 4-5 on the year. They actually beat Wisconsin once, which is, that's respectable. That's I would say top half Big Ten team. But other than that, nothing too impressive. They did beat Rutgers, so fence the garden. Watch out there. Texas is not back. This needs to be a 5-0 weekend. I don't know about you guys, but this needs to be 5-0 to me.
Yeah, I was on 1-3 last weekend, so I was just as close as Kev's. Well, Kev, you were hoping for 3-1, but you didn't really make a prediction.
No, I try to keep my expectations in check.
Yeah.
That goes across the board for all the sports teams I like.
Yeah,
as you guys may know.
I agree. I think it has to be 5-0. I mean, you look at Texas, nothing that they have done is particularly impressive. Same thing with Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's beaten some not very good Big Ten teams in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, but when they played Ole Miss, for instance, who is a top 20 team, they were beaten pretty soundly. They lost a game to Lamar, and then Texas at 4-5 on the season. It is not top-tier competition here, and if you want to limit the amount of games you lose in non-conference, you're going to need to sweep series like this one and then the one in Boca Raton and Oxford, coming down the line. I mean, those are ones you need to burn right through if you want to, have any kind of a shot to get good seeding position for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, Go ahead, Kev.
I was just going to say I agree, and Drain brought up a good point. Is you look at this schedule that's remaining, and Michigan has 2 games, I would say, left on their schedule, besides that Ohio State series at the end of the year, that they have a chance to put a resume. That's Baylor and Lafayette next weekend. And this is a great 5-game tournament to get everything right, get the offense right, the pitching is going to be there, and just get ready for next weekend and try to squeak out a win against one of those 2 teams, if not both of them. Because if you look at it, and now I'm going to pull out my inner JP, but if the rest of non-conference, somehow Michigan can go 19-0 or 18-1 with a loss against either Baylor and Lafayette, I'm feeling pretty good about this team getting through non-conference play with only 5 losses. That's the inner bull in me, and that's something that you guys never see, right? You guys never see the Kev Bull.
You do tend to sort of put on a facade of optimism every time you come on the podcast, to be fair. Speaking of JP, he's not with us because he messaged the group me saying that I am dead or something. I'm not alive.
Not alive, yeah.
So yeah, JP is no longer with us. May he rest in peace. His corpse will be flown to Sweden today. So that should be interesting for TSA to deal with. Just before we leave, I want to give you guys I did a little scouting on Virginia Tech, and this is how they describe their style of play. Teams that are fundamentally sound are always successful. We try to emulate that style on a game-by-game basis, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, we have tended to be a program that is fundamentally sound as well. We have shown a knack for hitting the ball for power, both home run and gap power. We have added some speed and hope to provide a more balanced attack. Smart yet aggressive is our style of play, and I have full faith that Michigan will triumph against a team with something that banal on their athletic department run website.
Well, the other thing that I'm looking for in this weekend is, do we see more of Sarah Schaefer, and then can they put up runs against some of these lesser teams? Because we've seen that they have been able to generally against Notre Dame and in the Tampa series against some of the lesser teams there, but can they put some big time runs on the board against VT in Texas? Because if they're winning a 1-0 game against Texas, that won't be a great sign.
All right.
I agree with Drain, because at this point, and I know we're trying to wrap up here, so I apologize, but through this point last year, Michigan had 3 run-rule victories. I'm looking for a couple this weekend. Drain's absolutely right. You got to get the offense going. Let's go.
Yeah. Just need to wake up the bats. So I am putting in JP's 5-0 prediction. I'm putting it on record, even though he hasn't technically told us that, because we all know that's what he would guess. Kev, you want 5-0? Are we going to get 5-0?
The Bull is back. We're going 5-0, baby.
Oh, jeez. Kev is just lying through his teeth over the phone. Alex?
No, you know what? Hey, it's a little early here in Chicago, but I'm getting amped up, man. Talking about Michigan softball early in the morning, it's going to be a good day. I
will probably. I I don't want to say 5-0 to follow the trend here, but that's what I'm thinking deep down. I'm feeling good about this series.
You know, this is all going to change once Michigan drops the first one, and then we're like, oh, what were we thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to preempt that. 3-2. I'm not going to trust the bats until I see it. I have faith long-term in the ability to turn the offense around, but not over the course of a week. So we're going to have those calls for you. Today, the games are at 1 Central Time and 6 Central Time. For those of you living in civilization, that's 2 and 8 Eastern, no, 2 and 7 Eastern Time. So yeah, follow those at WCBNsports.org.
We
or on YouTube.
also have a hockey broadcast on air tonight.
We're not promoting hockey.
I'm just
podcast.
We're promoting all WCBN sports broadcasts.
Hey, Drain.
Yeah.
Stick to Alumni Field, dude. Stick to Alumni Field.
That'll do it. For Alex Drain, Kevin Klein, I'm Morris Fabry. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you after hopefully a successful weekend of softball.
Hashtag Team Bargain.
East of the Rockies, the Michigan Students Softball Podcast on WCBN Sports.
Well, Mr. Burns had done it. The power plant had won it, with Roger Clemens clucking all the while. Mike Scioscia's tragic illness made us smile, while Wade Boggs lay unconscious on the barroom tile. We're talking softball, from Maine to San Diego, talking softball. Mattingly and Canseco, Ken Griffey's grotesquely swollen jaw, Steve Sachs and his running with the law. We're talking Homer, Ozzie and the Straw.